It was nearly midnight when he knocked, timid, hollow, desperate. Rain clung to his tattered clothes like sorrow to a broken soul. The street was silent except for the rhythmic sob of a child he clutched to his chest, wrapped in a worn, thin blanket that had seen too many winters. His eyes, sunken with hunger and sleep deprivation, stared at the old wooden door like it was the last hope on earth. His hands trembled, not from the cold, but from shame. Not long ago, he had stood proud, confident, with dreams of building a family, a future. Now, he was just a man, a poor, single dad, begging for milk to keep his baby alive. Dove, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Royal Stories for more heart-touching tales. Your support means the world. Dove. His name was Aman. Once a humble shop assistant in a small electronics store, life had never showered him with abundance, but it gave him enough to smile about. He had a wife he adored and a tiny rented apartment where dreams whispered softly at night. Then, in a cruel twist of fate, tragedy came knocking. His wife, Sarah, passed away during childbirth due to complications in a government hospital that lacked even the most basic facilities. The baby, a girl with eyes like her mother, survived. And so did Aman, but just barely. He named her Noor, meaning light, even though his world had turned into darkness. In the weeks that followed, Aman tried everything. He juggled odd jobs, cleaned cars, delivered groceries, anything to keep his daughter fed. Formula milk was expensive, and Noor was too fragile for anything else. She would cry for hours, her tiny body shaking from hunger. He would cry too, silently, helplessly, because no father should ever feel powerless in front of his child's tears. One stormy night, with no money in his pocket and no job in sight, Aman wrapped Noor in her blanket and stepped out. The shops were closed. The shelters were full. The mosques had long finished their charity meals. Desperation is a cruel fuel, it burns pride until only love remains. And love drove Aman to the doors of people he didn't know, knocking, praying, hoping someone would show mercy. He came to a large, quiet house on the edge of the neighborhood. The kind of house he never dared to even look at when life was kinder. Lights were on, glowing softly behind tall glass windows. He hesitated. What if they shouted at him? What if they called the police? What if they didn't open the door at all? But Noor stirred weakly in his arms, letting out a whimper so faint, it made his heart shatter all over again. He knocked. It was not a maid, not a guard, not a butler who opened the door, but the lady of the house herself. Her name was Mare, and though Aman didn't know it, she was one of the wealthiest businesswomen in the city. Owner of a chain of fashion houses and wellness resorts, she had everything: power, influence, money. But what no one knew was that behind her perfectly put-together image, Mare carried a silent grief. She had lost her only child in a car accident 2 years ago and had since distanced herself from everyone, especially children. Until that night, she looked at Aman and then at the tiny bundle in his arms. He didn't have to say anything. The desperation in his eyes, the way he clutched Noor protectively, said everything words could not. He asked for milk, but she heard a cry for help far deeper than that. Without saying a word, she stepped aside and motioned him in. The warmth of the house hit Aman like a wave. The smell of clean linen, of brewed tea, of safety. Mare took the baby from his arms, gently, hesitantly, and held her close. It had been years since she had held a child. Her hands shook as Noor instinctively snuggled into her chest. Aman stood there frozen, watching a stranger cradle his child as if she had known her forever. Mare didn't hand the child over to a nanny or fetch powdered formula. She fed Noor herself. It was the most intimate, selfless, raw act of human kindness Aman had ever witnessed. He couldn't stop the tears anymore. He dropped to his knees, overcome with shame, gratitude, love, and pain all at once. In that moment, a thread stitched two broken hearts together. a grieving mother and a desperate father, bound by one tiny, innocent life. In the days that followed, Mare didn't just give Aman milk, she gave him dignity. She offered him a job at one of her warehouses. She arranged proper medical care for Noor. She found him a small place to live near her estate, not out of pity, but because she saw something in him. Strength, integrity, fatherhood in its most unbreakable form. At first, Aman refused the help. His pride still stood tall, battered but breathing. But Mare gently told him, "This isn't charity. This is life giving you a second chance. Let someone help you the way you'd help others." And so, he accepted. Weeks turned to months. Aman began earning a steady income. Noor grew stronger, chubbier, her giggles filling every corner of his heart. Mare would visit often, sometimes with toys, sometimes just to sit quietly with the child who unknowingly healed her. Aman never asked for more than he needed, and Mare never offered more than what respected his independence. But through it all, a bond grew stronger, a quiet, sacred understanding between two souls who had lost everything but still chose to love. Years later, when Noor was old enough to speak, she would run up to Mare and call her Bari Ami, Big Mama. And Mare would weep, not out of sorrow, but because love had returned to her in a way she never expected. Today, Aman is no longer the man who knocked in the rain. He runs an entire logistics division in Mare's business empire, respected, confident, whole. Noor goes to a prestigious school, bright and compassionate like her mother was. In Mare, she laughs again. She hosts children at her home. She's even started a foundation to help single parents who struggle the way Aman once did. All because one night, a broken man knocked on a stranger's door, not knowing that behind it stood a woman whose heart was waiting, aching, for something to love again. Rose, if this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to believe in humanity again, and subscribe to Royal Stories for more tales that remind us of the beauty hidden in the darkest corners of life. And please, let us know in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Mare's place? Rose, speech balloon. Your comment might inspire someone who feels lost tonight. Don't scroll away without leaving a word of hope. Speech balloon.